Welcome to the Long Strange Trip. I'm Josh, the host of the show. We're going to dig into 6 areas together, finding real work-life integration instead of that brutal 95-5 split too many business owners live with. We're going to approach retirement as an actual reinvention rather than just stopping work. And we're facing death honestly and avoiding PTSD around it. We're also building resilience when life throws us curveballs. We're sharing wisdom across generations. And finally, we're understanding the patterns that show up in all our transitions. I'm not coming at this as an expert. I'm a fellow traveler, figuring this stuff out in real time, especially now as I navigate my own dual cancer diagnosis at 73. Welcome to the Long Strange Trip. I'm glad you're here. Hey, how are you today? This is Josh Patrick. We're with Rick Kahler, and you're at the Long Strange Trip podcast, where we talk about doing business differently and how to retire differently, doing death without PTSD, building resilience, wisdom, and then finally knowing how to handle transitions that will come along the way. And today we're going to start off our conversation with Rick, who is a fascinating guy, had been in the wealth management business for, I'm going to guess, pretty close to 40 years, and recently sold his firm. But we're going to start off with what his next act is, which is financial therapy. And we'll find out what that is. But first, we need to bring Rick on so he can start talking and I can shut up. Hey, Rick, how are you today?
I'm well. Good to be with you, Josh.
And you've had some challenges over the last couple of weeks, so we won't go there, but I'm glad you were able to make it today. So, Rick, what is financial therapy?
Oh, that's a good question, and it's kind of similar to asking what is financial planning, because it can be a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and it's not a controlled term as such. But my definition of financial therapy is the intersection of money and emotions. You have um, behavioral health specialists that deal with the emotional component of anything, change behavior. And then you have your financial people, investment advisors, financial planners that deal with the dollars and cents of money. But there's been nobody in the middle bringing together the emotions and the dollars and the cents. No profession has really owned that space. And the crazy thing is that 90 to 95% of all decisions, financial decisions, are made emotionally. And that usually doesn't go down real well with people like myself that are so left brain that we think we are steeped in logic. But it's true. And so when I explain this to somebody in the public, they usually will respond by saying, that makes perfect sense. I'm really emotional about money. So a financial therapist has some training, some background where they can address both the emotional side of money and understand the dollars and cents side of money.
So, there's really no profession that bridges the two?
There really isn't. You can in financial planning, the financial life planners
Yeah.
have come the closest to doing this. Susan Bradley's work um, of starting to understand that there's a union between emotions and money that needs to be honored, and so that you could say that recognition possibly started in 1995 with Dick Wagner and George Kinner, who got together. They did a presentation at the ICFP retreat, and then formed a leaderless group called the Nasrudin Project to kind of explore and play with this idea of emotions and money. And it's truly from that financial therapy emerged in 2008, 2009 as potentially a discipline. And the difference with the Financial Therapy Association that was started in 2009, I believe, is that it also embraces academics, which in the past, it's mostly been us practitioners. It says, we there's something here. And of course, the academics come along, research it, study it, and legitimize it. So that's a little bit of the start of this field. And I think today there may be 120 certified financial therapists, and there's a lot of people that use the title financial therapist, but it's definitely a growing and emerging field.
It's too bad Dick didn't adopt that term instead of phenology, because nobody knows what the heck phenology meant. I actually helped Dick edit his book, and I couldn't figure out what phenology was when I was done.
In truth,
But at any rate, that's a different and long story, which we won't get into, which nobody listening to this podcast, about maybe 3 people would understand that last little piece, so we'll move on. So, um, yeah, now I know, Rick, that you are also an internal family systems therapist. Am I correct in that?
yes, I'm a certified internal family systems practitioner.
Okay. And, how do you integrate that? I'm a big fan of first of all, can you give us a short definition of what IFS is? And then how do you explain to us how do you integrate financial, um, stuff with IFS?
Sure, sure. I discovered IFS in 2017, and I thought it was the craziest theory that I ever came across, which is it was founded by Richard Schwartz 45 years ago now. And it maintains that we're all sub personalities. We have sub personalities within us, and most people relate to this really quite easily. And whenever a person says, "Well, a part of me would like to do this, and a part of me would like to do that," there's a part of me that wants to save the money rather than take the vacation. There's another part that wants to take the vacation, uh, and this goes on and on. And it's really a a methodology of slowing down and interviewing that part of you that feels a certain way, and uh, really giving space for that part to be witnessed by you. And it's really a phenomenal modality, especially in the use of trauma. And most financial problems, most uh, financial behaviors that are problematic have some type of trauma underneath them. And when I say trauma, there'll be listeners that are mental health practitioners that may struggle with that. There's all sorts of definitions of what trauma is. The way I use the word trauma would be encompassing big T and little t trauma. Um, there's complex trauma, which is a lot of little t trauma, but it's like death by 10,000 cuts. Um, so it's a eloquent system to really help someone go to the core of the behavior, because problematic financial behaviors are not about the money. Money problems are rarely about the money. Let's just say 20% of money problems can be solved cognitively. For example, I'm overspending, but I don't realize how overspending works. And a financial planner says, "Well, you can't have more going out than's coming in." And I go, "Eureka! Problem solved."
Okay, Captain Obvious.
Exactly. Um, and I will always tell somebody start with the cognitive solution because that could be the solution. But in so many cases, it's not. Uh, say similar to many overeating problems. It's not about the food, and money problems are not about the money. So IFS can help us look at those parts of ourselves. There's uh, protector parts that protect parts of ourselves that are exiled. So when we're wounded, um, we make sure that parts of ourselves to cope with it say, hey, that's never going to happen again. And we're going to stay as far away from that pain as possible. So that part is exiled. And we have managers that protect the exile. We have firefighters that protect the exile. And it's just a eloquent, a very respectful system of um, interviewing all of these parts of ourselves. And I think one of the things that for myself personally, I'm a Enneagram type 1, which means I have a huge inner critic. And I tried a lot of things to help, quote, tame my inner critic that that didn't work. IFS is the only thing that's helped me befriend my critic and help me understand that my critic had a good intention. And this is really fundamental to IFS is understanding that all of these parts of ourselves have good intentions. In fact, when I was working with Ted Klontz, I remember where we were in the car driving. He says, every financial behavior, no matter how illogical it is to you or other people, makes perfect sense when we understand the underlying belief system.
So, Rick, can you give us an example of how in financial therapy, one part would negotiate with another part to come to a consensus?
Yeah, I've had some beautiful clients come up with some beautiful outcomes that I wouldn't have scripted. So these are typically called polarizations. So it's I can think of a person that had a part that wanted to give everything that they made to to charity, specifically to help children, and was very passionate about that, and felt very very guilty about keeping anything for themselves. And then they had another part of themselves that was concerned about their spending and keeping money for themselves and their future. And these parts just were at it, and there was a lot of suffering with this individual. So we were able to interview those parts, and we would ask one part if it would be okay, and you always get permission. You never go ramming into somebody's system. You don't try to throw out parts or make them wrong. You try to understand them.
Yes.
And so it was a matter of sitting down and saying, okay, let's hear from the part that really feels so much guilt about their lifestyle and wanting to give, and working with the other part as it listens. It's like working with a couple, Josh. Um, as one couple listens, you're working more with the one who's listening than the one who's speaking. And how is this for you to hear? And then when that part's done, you can go to the other part and say, okay, let let's hear how this is for you. How is it to not have enough? And what are your hopes and dreams? And that's one of the questions that can really unlock a lot is when you ask a part, what are your hopes? What are your hopes with this behavior? What are your fears if you don't have this behavior? What's your hope that this money script will bring? What's your fear if you don't believe this money script? And what can happen, and it might happen right away, it might take some time, is that you'll find both of these parts are on the same page at some point. They really want the best. And once they can be heard and get their stories out, they can come up with a collaboration that is eloquent. And in this particular case, um, the part that wanted to give everything away really was able to buy into a promise by the part that wanted to save. The part that wanted to save said, listen, if I can save enough so that we're okay, so that we can exist, you can have everything else. And that part was like, really? And so it was so funny because that part of of this client got all excited about saving. Like, okay, all right, let's say, can you save a little bit more? We really don't need that. And the focus of that part changed from today to the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I often say whatever has the most emotional juice wins. Is that spending today or spending in the future? And they were able to see that, wow, in the future we could give a lot away. And of course, the part they wanted to save and was concerned about safety and security was very happy because they had the agreement that, yeah, as long as we'll be okay, you can have the excess.
So were there any kids involved in this sort of therapy?
Kids,
Yeah,
not in this case.
there were no children involved then.
No.
Okay. Interesting, interesting. So, you recently sold your business. I'm doing a pivot, which is, gee, a big surprise for me. Um, and you have some challenges with that, you've told me. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you needed resilience to get through those challenges?
Yeah, I needed resilience on steroids. Um, with the sale of my business, and I still am a partner in my firm, so I sold a controlling interest in it. And I started this path 13 years ago to bring in a successor, and my first attempt at bringing in a successor didn't go well. Um, we did such a good job embracing financial therapy that she decided she wanted to become a therapist and go into the mental health field, and as a phenomenal financial therapist. Obviously, she was a certified financial planner. So then I sold several years later. I sold internally to two people and thought I pretty much had it handled. One could run the business. One was a great planner. And 4 months after I sold, the one that could, the operational person, um, went to work for another firm, which was the biggest blind side of my professional career. And that was a struggle to recover from that. We started working with. I had another partner who did not want to run the firm by himself, and so we started working with succession planners. Um, Worked with Tiffany Lee and Brooklyn uh, Brock,
Mhm.
and it was actually when I was down at um, Susan's annual in 2024, which you were there.
Yep.
And I got an email from my accountant saying, let's talk. And I had thought about him as a potential buyer in the past, but had done what I tell my clients not to do and answered for him that he wasn't interested without asking him. And so we started talking and had a lot of value um, talks about that and felt that we had a pretty good match. Um, During our negotiations, I received the resignation of one planner, and then another planner told me that he was being headhunted by a much larger firm. And this was all within an hour of itself. And that was crushing. That was just crushing. And it lit the fire that maybe I better make this uh, transition happen sooner than later, because the firm that I was working with was really had a sense of urgency around wanting to obtain or start a financial planning firm. So the good thing about working with the succession planners is that I had a lot of touchstones, a lot of um, uh, things that were important. And the top two things that were important: is it good for clients, and is it good for the staff? I would joke from time to time that I forgot to put myself on the list.
Yes.
But we um, we finally got down to we had talked general deal structure, but not a lot of price. We got appraisals. We were quite far off on price, as it turned out. They are accountants. They're used to EBITDA.
Hmm.
I live in the multiple of revenue world.
Yeah, my experience with working in M&A is always based on EBITDA, never on multiple sales.
And as a business appraiser, which I was one of two for many, many years in my region, EBITDA is usually the go-to. I
I
would
mean, you
think.
get that or discounted cash flow, which makes no sense whatsoever for small companies. But I don't want to get into the technicalities of this because I'm leaving that behind me. But at any rate, uh,
We could do that, couldn't we?
yes, I could move into that in like 12 seconds. So but I don't want to.
So we came together on price and terms, and um, then the transition itself was pretty rough. Um,
As they usually are, by the way.
and you hear that, and I was prepared for that, but I was not prepared for that.
Unless you have a coach that knows how to take you through it, nobody is prepared for it. I used to tell my clients all the time, and this is true, by the way, for almost anything. When you're doing something that's the first or second time you've done it, the person on the other side probably has done it dozens, if not hundreds of times. So you have to realize where you are in the competence scale as you go through these processes. And I believe that's true, by the way, for about anything that comes to a transition, is that um, transitions can often be there's an expert who really knows what they're doing and somebody who really doesn't. And it's a transfer of assets from the person that doesn't know to the person who does know. And I can give you dozens of different types of examples this happens in, but it's pretty much it's one of the things that we don't talk about as we're teaching people how to go through a transition. At least that's my experience.
Yeah, I think in this case we had somebody that um, hasn't gone through this, uh, selling to somebody who hasn't gone through this.
Yeah.
um, and I
Right.
have been made plenty of offers by roll ups.
Yeah, but offers are different than the process because when the process changes, and this is true. I mean, you can take this and apply it to other areas of life, I believe. But the process really changes once you get into the letter of intent where you put the real deal down and the bad cop shows up. If there's a big enough risk on the line, there's a good cop that starts the transaction who's really nice and you really like. And then there's the bad cop that comes along whose only job is to make the deal better for them.
Yeah, I think in that regard, I was relatively fortunate. Um, and this could work for or against me, but the buyer was my accountant of 9 years.
Right.
And so, and we're both Enneagram ones, which means we're also bought into fairness.
Mhm.
And what we came up with, I remember Paul put our 75-page operating agreement down. Once we got it worked out, he says, "This is a work of art."
A 75-page operating agreement?
Yeah,
Did it go over the rules of going to the bathroom?
just about, just about.
Oh
Just
god, I've never seen an operating agreement that long.
it. We talked about a lot of things.
I guess
So
you did.
that part of it uh, went pretty well. I mean, we negotiated, and but I think we were fair, and the fact that I'm retaining 25%, um, n- also need and the paper, pretty much the paper, meant that it needed to be a good deal for everybody. It couldn't be one sided. It had to be something that was sustain them. So um, so that worked out. The big surprise was 3 days before closing. They decided they could not. We formed a new company,
Mhm.
bought the assets of the old company,
Right.
and they were going to extend offer letters. And they decided they were not going to make an offer letter to the director of operations. And in the way they did things, basically walked her out the door, which is wasn't my culture at all.
Yeah, that's what happens when you sell is that, the buyer gets to make the rules and the seller has no influence.
So that was hugely disruptive.
Yep.
And
So that
so
puts
it,
you squarely into passage or the messy middle, depending which
oh,
term you like.
absolutely into passage. I mean, there was a pretty abrupt ending, and I'm still in passage. It's been
My experience with major transitions, whether it's retirement, I don't think that, I think Susan would do well to pay more attention to retirement transitions than she does. She does a great job with widows and a great job with divorcees, but everybody, I mean, literally everybody goes through retirement transition. And
huge.
it is a long, long, messy middle. That's why, retirement reinvention is one of the areas that we're investigating is that, um, I don't know, that's not true. I know 2 people who have, sold their businesses and not had seller's remorse. Not 2 people that have had it, to people who haven't had it.
Haven't had it.
And that puts hundreds that have had it. And there's a whole bunch of reasons behind that. And that's what we're investigating here is how can you avoid that experience or at least reduce the experience? Now, I don't think you can avoid it.
You talked about coaches, and that's one of the things that helped me through this process. I mean, I have an IFS therapist.
Yep.
I have an Enneagram coach.
Yep.
I had a business coach.
Yep.
I had succession coach.
Yep.
I have a supervisor that supervises my financial therapy.
Yep.
So those were 5 people in my life that I would meet with weekly to monthly,
Yes.
and I kept them very busy.
They keep you very busy.
I remember Tiffany just bringing me back to, is it good for the clients? Is it good for the staff?
Yeah.
And talking me off the ledge a number of times.
Yeah, they
And
should I'm a little unhappy they didn't also say, "Is it good for Rick?"
that there was some implication in there. Well,
If that was your
which
transition coach, that was a big error in my opinion, but that's look at I am definitely, a contrarian when it comes to doing that work. Most people think I'm a little bit crazy, but I get good results from my clients, or I did.
well, that's the important thing.
Yeah. So, at
And
any rate, Rick, I am really sorry, but I'm looking at the clock, and we have run over. We could
oh my
continue
God,
on. We
we
could
just started.
I know, we could continue on this for quite a while. I think I'm gonna probably have you back at some point in the future, and we'll do a deeper dive into this, if that's okay. Hey, if somebody wanted to find you, how would they go about doing that?
You can find me you can Google Rick Kahler. You can email me at Rick Kahler. You can find me at financialawakenings.com, which is a blog,
Yeah.
or advanced-wellbeing.com. Um, that's going to get you to me.
Okay, and just to let you know, Rick's an incredible writer, so if you go over to his blog and spend some time reading, give yourself some time because he writes long blog posts, but they're well worth the time to read. And I've got, one thing I would like you to do, or if you're interested, you can do this. If you've liked this episode and you would like to be a guest on the show, it's really pretty easy. Just send me an email at jpatrick@stage2solution. That's the number 2 and solution is singular. jpatrick@stage2solution.com. And I'll send you a link. We'll have a conversation and see if you would make a good guest on the show. As you see, it's a conversation. I don't beat anybody up anymore. I used to, but not now. And you probably would have a fun thing. But if you have any of these 6 areas of investigation that you're interested in and we can talk about, give me a shout. So thanks a lot for being with us. This is Josh Patrick. I'm with Rick Kahler. You're at the Long Strange Trip podcast. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here soon. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I really appreciate you being part of this journey. I'd be grateful if you'd leave an honest rating and review. It helps other people find these conversations, lets me know what's landing with you and what isn't. If you love the show, give us 5 stars. And if you hate it, give it 1 star and I'll just cry a little bit. Keep asking the hard questions. Keep being honest about what's difficult. And remember, we're all just trying to figure this out together. I'll talk to you next time on the Long Strange Trip. Thanks for stopping by.